under the ground that will one day be called Siberia, something has already started to leak. No claw can reach it, no lung can smell it. Nothing alive on Earth knows it's there. But a clock has just started running. In under 2 million years, it will erase nearly 90% of every species on this planet. And it will not do it with fire, or teeth, or a single terrible day. It will do it with an executioner so vast, so slow, and so utterly indifferent that not one living thing will ever manage to find it and fight back. This is the story of the worst death the Earth has ever handed out. And it begins with a king who doesn't yet know he's already been sentenced. 252 million years ago, the Earth wears a single face. Every scrap of land has fused into one supercontinent, Pangaea, stretched from pole to pole, wrapped by one endless superocean. This is not our world. No flowers, no grass, no birdsong, only ferns, horsetails, and the first conifers, feeding a world of reptiles and proto-mammals richer than anything before it. In the far south lies a green river-braided floodplain, the place we'll one day call the Karoo. Right now, it may be the richest hunting ground on the planet. Hold on to this image. The warmth, the water, the sheer abundance of it. Because this is the last time this world will ever look like this. And almost nothing living in it will survive what comes for it next. Here rules a predator with no rival. A rubidgene gorgonopsian, built like a tank and armed like an ambush. A skull made to crush, sabers made to finish. Nothing challenges it. Around it grazes a census of giants. Barrel-bodied dicynodonts digging for roots, armored parasaurs the size of small cars, smaller cousins scavenging the edges. For tens of millions of years, this arrangement has held. Predator on top, prey below. A machine that, from any single year's view, looks perfectly, permanently stable. That stability is the trap. Because being the biggest, most specialized hunter on the continent means one thing above all: total dependence on a world staying exactly as it is. And right now, thousands of kilometers north, on the far side of Pangaea, that world has already begun to move. It is not a volcano erupting on the surface. It's something worse, working from underneath. Molten rock is forcing itself sideways into buried beds of coal, salt, and hydrocarbon, and cooking them from the inside like sediment in an oven. That cooking breathes greenhouse gas into the sky on a scale nothing alive has ever faced. This isn't a guess. Geologists have dated the ash layers on both sides of the crisis to a precision of a few tens of thousands of years, and they land squarely on top of this exact pulse of buried, sideways spreading magma. And no, this is not the asteroid that ended the dinosaurs 190 million years later. There is no crater. There is no ejecta. The killer this time did not come from the sky as a rock. It came from below as a breath, and it is already loose. Here is the turn no one sees coming. The old king does not fall in some final roaring battle. He does not lose a duel. He simply stops appearing in the rock, somewhere before the world outside even looks sick. The rubigenes, the strongest hunters this continent has ever produced, are gone. There is no body to mourn, no last stand to remember. There is only an absence, spreading through the layers like a held breath that never comes back. Think about what that means. The single most powerful animal in this entire world was erased, and it never once got to face the thing that killed it. It couldn't. You cannot fight the sky. a throne stands empty under a warming haze. And for a long while, nothing left alive understands what that emptiness is about to cost. Most retellings of this extinction imagine one doomed regime collapsing all at once. The real fossil record tells a stranger, sharper story. Across less than 2 million years, the identity of South Africa's top predator changed at least 4 separate times. A churn of kings unmatched anywhere else in the history of life on land. This was never one ruler's fall. It was a broken throne that no one was meant to win. And into that emptiness from thousands of kilometers away, something is already walking, half a world away, in what will one day be Russia. A saber-toothed hunter, the size of a tiger, has thrived on its own home ground for millions of years. Then its kind does something almost nothing its size is known to do. It crosses Pangaea. Roughly 11,300 kilometers of supercontinent. An unimaginable trek carries this lineage into a Karoo that has just lost its own kings. Follow this one animal. It arrives to find no fight waiting for it, because there is no one left to fight. It simply steps onto a throne already standing empty, and for one brief, glorious stretch of time, it becomes the undisputed terror of a continent that was never even its home. It has crossed an entire world to become a king. It does not know that the world it just conquered is already dying under its feet. While one predator claims an empty throne, the deeper machine keeps running. The gas pouring out of Siberia does not stay in Siberia. It spreads through the whole atmosphere and drags global temperatures up by roughly 10 degrees Celsius. The oceans absorb what they can and pay for it, acidifying, suffocating, turning lethal to anything trying to build a shell from calcium. And here is what that number actually means on the ground. Our king, the newcomer, now stands in a heat. His body was never built to shed, his flanks heaving on air that no longer fills his lungs the way it should. He is still the strongest animal for 1,000 kilometers. It changes nothing. On land, the forests fail, and for millions of years afterward, geologists find no trace of coal-forming peat anywhere on Earth. A global scar in the rock we call the coal gap. This is not one catastrophe. It is dozens, stacked on top of each other, all converging on the same narrow window of time, and all of them pointing at the same throat. And then the slow burn stops being slow. Watch this one water hole. The same green bend of river where our king first drank when he arrived, in a window that lasts, at most, 60,000 years. A single blink in the life of a planet, the whole system tips. The clear water pulls back into cracked mud. The mud turns the color of rot. The sky above it thickens into a haze that never fully lifts again. This is the closest thing this planet has ever come to an off switch. And it is not thrown by a monster, or a war, or a single terrible night. It is thrown by chemistry, patiently, indifferently, until almost nothing that built the old world is left standing to see the new one. Keep watching the water. Something pale and green is already creeping back along its edge. But look who is no longer standing beside it. The king that crossed a world does everything a king is supposed to do. When the heat comes, he seeks the shade, and the shade is just as hot. When his throat burns, he walks back to the water hole that welcomed him and finds it choked with dead mud. When his strength fails, he does what his kind has always done and looks for prey. And the plain is empty in every direction. He does everything right. It changes nothing. There is no enemy here to bite. No rival to drive off. No burrow to hide him. No rain arriving at the last moment to save him. There is only the air pressing down, refusing to fill his lungs, and a heat with no face and no malice. A heat that is not even trying to kill him, that simply does not find him worth sparing. He is the most powerful animal for 1,000 kilometers, and against this, his power is worth nothing at all. His flanks heave. His legs stop answering. He crossed an entire supercontinent to reach a throne, and he dies at the foot of it, beside the water, under a sky that never once noticed he was there. When the haze finally begins to thin, almost none of the old cast is left to inherit what remains. Except one. Remember the small, tusked, beak-jawed little grazer from the edges of the old world. The one that was never a threat, never a headline, never worth a second glance. It is still here, and almost overnight, in the slow arithmetic of geology, it becomes the single most common land animal left on the entire planet. In places, its bones now make up something like 9 out of every 10 individual fossils in the rock. Not because it was strong, not because it was fast, possibly just because it could dig a burrow to hide from the worst of the heat, and it was never fussy about what wilting, changing scraps of plant it ate. Sometimes survival isn't a triumph or a reward or proof of anything grand at all. Sometimes it's just this, being small enough and humble enough that the executioner never bothered to aim. An emptied world still needs a hunter, and life does not wait long to crown a new one. Down at the water's edge, a new predator moves, long-snouted, hook-jawed, low and sprawling. Nothing at all like the saber-toothed giants that ruled before it. It is the first of its kind to rise in this reborn world, and its favorite prey is the very animal that just inherited the earth. Watch it move through the dawn, light, unhurried, certain. A king walking a kingdom that is finally, quietly alive again. The old empire was not replaced by something stronger. It was succeeded by the small and then by the strange. And this strange new hunter belongs to a lineage that, from this exact moment, will spend the next 180 million years working its way toward crocodiles, toward pterosaurs, toward the first dinosaurs. This is a coronation. Let it stand. Now, the honest fine print, because it belongs here, after the crown, and not before it. This new world did not snap back to life. Recovery crawled through millions of unstable years, booming and collapsing again and again before it truly held. That hook-snouted king is not a dinosaur. The real age of dinosaurs was still tens of millions of years down the road. But none of that dims what actually happened on this floodplain. Nearly 90% of every species alive was erased. Not by a rock from space, not by a single day of fire, but by a fuse lit hundreds of thousands of years earlier. Underground, unnoticed, by an executioner too vast and too indifferent for anything to fight. And the world that grew back was not built by whoever ruled the longest, or hunted the hardest, or crossed the farthest. It was built by whoever happened to still be breathing when the sky finally slowly ran out of ways to kill. Because in the end, that was the one thing none of them could fight, and that is the whole story of survival.